Today we are talking about challenging negative mindset and preventing mental health stigma in Nigeria. I feel like the first issue is enlightenment. Enlightenment is the first issue, because if there is no awareness, we will not move forward. Nobody will know what to do and what is right. Mental health is your emotional states at every point in time, and it is a spectrum. So what I mean by a spectrum is that, everybody has a mind, every one of us. So therefore, at some point, there'll be a day where you feel really good, there'll be a day where you feel really bad, depending on what you have gone through or what your experiences have been. And so today you might be poor side, tomorrow you might be stable, another day you might be on the very good side, depending on what is going on in your life presently. That places you somewhere on the spectrum. So nobody can say, I do not have mental health, as you have physical health. So today we can wake up and say, some of us have a headache on this group, some of us have like a tummy ache, So we can tell physically how I feel today. We can all say, this is how I feel. Oh, I feel perfect. Oh, I just have a little headache. Same way with our mental health. Where are you today? You can determine that. So that means somewhere, all of us are somewhere on the spectrum. However, a mental illness is a person suffers mental illness when they have been diagnosed with a mental disorder. So you cannot say you have a mental illness just because you feel sad. A lot of mental health symptoms are, misused or over-exaggerated. For example, you could just feel sad, then somebody says, I am depressed. It's a bit of like exaggerating the situation. Something bad happened, you don't feel good, doesn't mean that you are depressed. There's a difference between mental health, mental wellness, and mental illness. However, if you do not take care of your mental wellness, it could become a mental illness. For example, this is a woman's forum, so I'll use the typical things that happens to women. Maybe a woman is struggling in her marriage and, things are just, deteriorating by the day. There's domestic violence, there's emotional abuse, and you're taking it in and you're taking it in and you're not doing anything about it. You're taking it in. After a while, it could lead to a place where you are very sad. Then your deep sadness could go into depression. That is like, depression is a place of darkness, it's a place of emptiness. It's that feeling of like nothing is worth it. You open your eyes and you don't want to be here. That's how dark depression is. And then you get to that state of depression. You have slowly gone from mental wellness, which is, okay, you were just having some mental issues or emotional issues, and now you have slowly moved from that place into a mental illness. So depression, once you enter depression, it could even, degrade into other things. You could start hallucinating. You could start, yelling for no reason. You could start talking to yourself. You start suffering insomnia and so many things, which has become almost like a psychotic case. So that's how not taking care of your mental health can, turn into a mental illness. So that's how they are related. That's why we say when you have just a mental health issue, maybe you're going through something and you feel it's too tough, get help. So we have talked about the mental health spectrum, which, all of us are somewhere on the spectrum, and life challenges will throw us in different directions. However, we need to know how to get up. If you know you cannot do it by yourself, you do not have a good support, then you get the help of a professional for the mental health. So we're talking about mental health stigma. Now, in talking about stigma, we always think stigma is what other people project on us, people that, the disgrace associated with a circumstance. When people say, oh, you are psycho or something like that, sometimes the stigma starts from us. How does it start from us? We do not believe in mental health in the first place. A lot of times people think when they talk about mental health, it has to be, mad people. So when you do not believe it, that means you do not even come to terms with your own situation. So sometimes it's not other people, it's just you saying, what is this thing? I don't understand it, I don't believe it, God forbid I reject it. Those are the kind of things that leads to that, the stigma causes. So sometimes stigma from other people, sometimes it's even you trying to denounce the illness or trying to denounce the health situation yourself. So that's where it starts from. And the stigma is terrible because it transcends into different things, in a person's life. So if you do not handle the stigma first we need to talk about awareness. So if there's The awareness is the reason for the stigma. Those are one of the things. People are not aware, people are not educated. That's why, today I've realized that mental health is a subject that is talked about everywhere, in every situation. Everywhere you see a gathering, they put mental health as a priority and, make sure that everybody is aware of what it is so that there will be no stigma, so that you can support the next person and the next person can support the other person. That way, we can all come together and say, okay, this thing is real. What can we do about it? So I'm going to talk about the stigma cycle. Cycle starts from the negative perception. So it is you thinking mental health is not real. When it comes to health, physical health takes priority. When somebody calls you now and say, oh, do an x-ray, I think, you are breathing funny, go and do an x-ray, check some. And so, that's the perception that mental has to do with God. It's only God that can be linked directly to your mental health. So whenever it's a mental health issue, we want to dwell on it, or we want to say, oh, God forbid. But prayer is good. I'm a Christian myself. Prayer is good. In everything, we need to pray and involve God. However, prayer is a weapon, and getting help for your mental is a strategy. It's a strategy to moving forward. So you cannot choose one over the other. You have to combine the two. So when you clear the negative perception, then if there's a negative perception, then there will be discrimination. People will discriminate. And that is why somebody cannot say to another person, I have clients in real life who come to me, and there's one thing that is common with everybody. Their sessions are like top secrets. Their spouse does not know, their parents do not know, their families do not know, their friends do not know. It's like very hush-hush. Nobody must know that I'm going through this because of the fear of discrimination. And then when somebody is afraid of discrimination, they will avoid getting help. So they try to, let them come up and say, no, there's nothing wrong with me, I'm fine. And that long enough, it degenerates into a mental illness. And what it is, mental illness now becomes, full blown, and you find out that people are now, at the stage where they really need to get maybe admitted in a psychiatrist, which is no more something you can hide. It gets to that point, and it's really expensive. To be honest, when it gets to that highest level, it becomes really expensive, really difficult, really depressing even. People have told me that I was told to see a psychiatrist, and that alone depressed me. And for me, I just feel, as much as we all see dentists, we see men. However, we don't need to go to that level. We can start small. We can start small with counseling. We can start small with psychotherapy. We can start small by identifying your support system in the environment who can help you, before it gets to the point where, and some people, to be honest, some mental illnesses are genetic. So it doesn't need to degenerate to that point before you get the help you need. So after the stigma cycle, let's talk about the statistics. Like I mentioned at the beginning, 20 to 30% of Nigerians suffer mental health illnesses, and which is approximately about 60 million people, and less than 5% actually get treatment or get help of any kind. And the common mental illnesses are anxiety disorders. Under anxiety, there's so many other disorders like OCD and the likes. They have eating disorders. Eating disorder can be very much linked to self-esteem that Debbie talked about. The eating disorder can be very linked. We have PTSD, bipolar disorders, agoraphobia, obsessive compulsive disorders, and psychotic disorders. So now I've mentioned about maybe 8 or 9 of them, but when they hear mental health, everybody's thinking of the psychotic disorders. Those are the people that, and the mental health, mental facilities, and, they are having serious issues, but it is a lot more than that. So a person has been raped, and, they are suffering from, they get triggered whenever they are amongst people. Some people go about with knives because they are so afraid of something bad happening to them again. That's a PTSD. Depression are those people that, they're just going through a lot, but, they don't know what to do about it. They're covering up. And some people are high functioning depressives. So these are people that they are very depressed, but they know how to show up. They show up every day. They come to work. They do their normal lives. But when they go back and they are with themselves, they know that they're in that bad state. And then that's what happens when people come up and say, oh, we didn't know that this person was having all these issues. We thought that they were okay. Those are the kind of things that depression can do. And how do we eradicate stigma. We eradicate stigma by just keep the conversation going. We need to talk about it. We have talked about it in this meeting now, and a number of us on this meeting. So you share it in your own community as well, at work, in your family. Support to kids. How do we show support?
Awesome.
It starts with the parents. As parents, we need to take care of ourselves. As mothers, we need to take care of ourselves because you are the first contact your kids have. And if you are not in a good place, your kids cannot be in a good place. Trust me. You can mask it, you can try, but it won't work. You need to be in a good place. And remember that you cannot give what you do not have. If you're not happy, you cannot give happiness. If you're not stable, you cannot give stability to your children. So, it starts with us. We need to be in a good place. So we need to also help our kids develop on their self-esteem. How do we do that? By communication. You do not know how your child feels until they talk. And if you are in a home where the kids are not allowed to talk, only adults dictate, how can you know where they are mentally? How can you know how they feel? How can you weigh their self-esteem? How can you know, okay, this child is very confident or this child is not so confident in this area? If there's anything you have done well as a parent is if you can achieve your kids' openness, if you can get to the place where your kids are open to you, if you can get to the place where your kids are open to you, they can talk to you about anything or at least most things, then you have done something well. And then don't let your kids grow up, having to recover from the childhood they have had. There are some of us, I am an example, I had to do a lot of work on myself as an adult because growing up sometimes we think food, shelter, clothing is all a child needs and maybe an education. I had all that, but then every other thing was missing. So it's like you come home, there's food, there's shelter. What's your problem? You don't have a problem now, but it is beyond that. Don't let your child grow up having to recover from their childhood and recover from the trauma of being your child, the trauma of being in your household. How do you manage your household? Your relationship with your partner is important. If you guys are lashing out every day, trust me, your home training is not textbook. They don't sit down and write out stuff. Home training is what your child sees, what they learn, what the unspoken things, the unspoken actions in your home is home training. For me, largely, that's home training. So, what do your kids see? It's beyond I'm a good mom, but me and my husband, we used to fight every day. You are depositing long-term mental, dysfunction for your kids. Then how do you show support? Some of us are employers, some of us have subordinates at work, supporting one another. Do not undermine what somebody else is going through. If somebody says, this thing upsets me, don't say, that small thing. It's not your place to judge what is big or what is small. People kill themselves for failing a paper. People kill themselves for repeating the class. It looks so stupid. It's just a year, it's just one paper. But people kill themselves for losing relationships. It is not your place to say, this is worth, hurting yourself, or this is not worth hurting. So that means you do not invalidate people's feelings. If they say, I feel this way, believe them and, help them. How do you help? Listen, be quiet, don't be judgmental, don't spread the gist. Point at help. So if you don't know what to do, you can say, do you think you want to talk to so-and-so person? Do you want to do this? That's how to show support. And when you show support, you also should look for people who show you support. So you go to another, maybe everybody needs to identify their own support system. They don't have to be your immediate family. They can be friends, they can be colleagues, they can be anybody you trust, anybody you feel is in that place where they listen, where they hear you out, and where they help you, emotionally find your own support. And if you cannot find your support, pay for support, pay a counselor, pay a psychotherapist, pay somebody that you can go have a session, get clarity, and be fine. And then when one person learns support begins to go around, we begin to support ourselves. And now, how do we show support? We show empathy, we are patient, we listen, we refuse the urge to invalidate, we suggest help. That's how we show support. And for moms, today is a Mother's Day event, so I cannot leave moms out. You need to practice self-love. What is self-love? Self-love is just, I know you want to be the superwoman, take over the world, but sometimes you need to relax, sit back, get help. Ask people for help. Get help with your kids, get help with your mental health, get help with whatever it is you need help with, do not be afraid. It doesn't make you less for trying to get help from somebody else. And, normalize asking for help. Resolve your emotional issues. This one is big. I think women have a lot of emotional issues in the genders. I mean, men do, but even the little they have, they don't talk about it. But most women have a lot more they have to worry about, they are concerned about. Get help. If you clear your head, if you clear your issues, you become a better mother, you become a better friend, you become a better person in the society. Marriages, I must mention, it's one place where people just, a lot of times, patch it through, manage it, It's not a stay in the marriage or leave the marriage, There's an in-between. There's a gray area. You can be staying and be in a terrible place. Don't just stay so that the society will say stay. Stay and be working actively towards making it a better place, because the better your marriage is, the better it is for your kids, the better it is for yourself, the better it is for your mental stability. One of the biggest purpose of marriage is to be each other's stability. And if you're not getting that, then I'm wondering, what are you doing there? You need to don't just stay, but stay and make sure it is working. Put effort towards making it work. Don't just pray about it, but work about it. Do something about it. Make changes, keep trying. If you want to stay, keep trying. Don't just be stuck in a toxic situation. And identify and build your support system. Like I said, every one of us, mothers, singles, parents, whatever you are, you need to identify and build your support system. And remember that everything rises and falls on your mental health. There's no decision you want to take that doesn't start from the mind. You need to keep that place sane. Even for your business, if you are not stable, you cannot do well. If you're not stable in your mind, you cannot make decisions. So everything rises and falls on your mental state, and there is no health without mental health. Thank you so much for your time.